What's up, everybody? It's KZ here. Long time no see. We're going to be going ahead and breaking down UFC 323 here, the last pay-per-view of 2025, before we go and head into the Paramount era. After that, we got Royval versus Cop, and then we're going to have 6 weeks no UFC. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be rough, but we're going to go ahead and get through it. So we're going to be starting at the very bottom of the card, working our way all the way up to the top. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First fight of the night, we got Muhammad Naimov versus Mairon Santos. The pick here for me is going to be Mairon Santos. I just feel like his striking is clean enough to get this done, and same thing with his takedown defense. I think that he's the better striker of the two. He's got good head movement, good reflexes, and I just think that he can beat Naimov in the striking exchanges, defend the takedowns, keep this fight on the feet, and get the win here. I'm going to go KO or points. I'm leaning more towards decision just because Naimov has proven to be a little bit difficult to finish. He's only been submitted once, I think, by Felipe Lima, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's only lost by submission one time to Felipe Lima. Mairon Santos isn't really a submission artist, but he does have solid punching power. So, I mean, could be the first time Naimov ever gets knocked out in his career. But yeah, I like Santos here. He's got good front kicks, straight punches. Naimov is skilled, but I think that Santos is at a higher level. Naimov's best win is Nathaniel Wood, but the fucker was cheating the entire time with groin shots, cage grabs. Come on. Then points should have been taken, so that should have been a draw at best against Nathaniel Wood. Santos, it says here that he's 5'7", but, he was just as tall, if not taller, than Sadiq Yusuff, who's listed at 5'9". So either Sadiq Yusuff is 5'7", or Santos is actually taller than he's listed. But yeah, he's got a solid reach advantage of 2 inches. 2 inches might not sound like a lot, but it gets the job done. You know what I'm saying? All right, but yeah, no, we got Santos here. I think that he's going to be able to get this win here over skilled and dangerous Muhammad Naimov. But I think that Santos is at the higher level here. Now we got Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Antonio Trócoli. Like, come on, man. Like this is Malik KO all day. Trócoli has fought twice since 2021, and in both fights he's gotten finished. He got finished by Tresean fucking Gore. Like, come on. Trócoli's 12-5, and 9 of those wins came between 2013 and 2015. So over 10 years ago and 10 years ago. So Trócoli is a part-time fighter. Those wins were just in Brazil in the regional scene against fucking who knows who. And yeah, like I said, this guy fucking lost to Tresean Gore. Come on. Malik is much more active. And yes, the Brundage fight was closer than it should have been. But that was a good learning experience for Mansur Abdul-Malik. He should come back here and destroy Trócoli. He's a solid wrestler. He's got nasty knockout power. I think that he's going to come out here and make it look easy. He's going to get a highlight win here to open up UFC 323 in one of the first fights of the night. So yeah, we're not going to spend too much time on that squash match. We're going to go ahead and get right into Iwo Baraniewski versus Ibo Aslan. Iwo versus Ibo. It's going to be rough for the commentators, so they're just going to be going last names. But yeah, Baraniewski spent his amateur career fighting at heavyweight, and he had a 16-3 record as an amateur. He's currently 6-0 as a pro, and he has one punch KO power, and he also has submissions and decision wins, so he's well rounded. All of Aslan's wins are by KO, and Ibo Aslan's UFC wins are against Rafael Cicada, who we saw get finished in 30 seconds at UFC Qatar. So dude's basically finished a shit can. And then Anton Trócoli, the pleasure man, who was actually able to choke him out on the regional scene in Brave FC. Side note here, I was actually going to call Trócoli a shit can too, but looking back at it, Trócoli was completely fucked over by the UFC matchmakers and just fed to absolute monsters. And Jalin Almeida and Vitor Petrino, who we went to decision with, actually, and Tyson Pedro. But yeah, no, that's enough about Anton Trócoli. Ibo Aslan's currently on a 2-fight losing streak, getting subbed in round 1 by Iwan Cutelaba. He showed a big hole in his wrestling and grappling, and also in one of the shittiest fights you'll ever see against Billy Elikana. Ibo is a pretty sloppy striker, so I think going out and trying to go toe-to-toe and knock out a monster like Baraniewski isn't really a good recipe for success. I see Aslan getting finished wherever the fight goes here, either on the ground or on the feet. So the pick here is going to be Iwo inside the distance. I definitely think that he gets the finish. Dude is a fucking monster, and I think that he gets the job done over Ibo Aslan. But yeah, now we got Edson Barboza versus Jalin Turner. Jalin Turner is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. He should be 2-3 because the Gamrot fight was a robbery. He beat the shit out of Gamrot, and all Gamrot did was get takedowns and hang on for dear life. He went to war with Dan Hooker. He had that stupid walk-off KO fiasco with Renato Moicano. Moicano was able to come back after Jalin Turner just let him up and didn't go for the finish on the ground. He damn near murdered Bobby Green, and he got submitted by Bahamondes after shooting a stupid takedown. And, ended up getting triangled by Bahamondes. And, Barboza's coming off of a lackluster decision loss where he didn't really let his hands go, got held up against the cage by Drakkar Klose. And then he came off of it. Before that, down at featherweight, he was coming off of a brutal beating from Lerone Murphy. So, yeah, I'm picking Jalin Turner here. I mean, he has dangerous striking and one-punch KO power. I am concerned about the Bahamondes loss. The retirement essentially after that, not just the loss, but the retirement afterwards more so, essentially just taking his ball and going home like, I lost, I'm fucking quitting. Like, it makes me question his mentality, like what's going to happen after Edson Barboza lands one too many fucking solid leg kicks? Like, is the quitter mentality going to kick in? The pick is Turner, but it does come with a little bit of concern here. Barboza is not going to triangle Jalin Turner off of his back like Ignacio, or take him down and beat him up like Moicano did. So this will be a striking fight. So Jalin should be able to use his length for his advantage and land the longer shots down the middle. Edson Barboza, we all know how he fights. He's a very quick striker. Doesn't really have the best hands. But yeah, I like Jalin Turner here. I think that he can, utilize his reach advantage to get the job done here over a Barboza on the decline, almost 40. So yeah, I don't think if Jalin Turner is, mentally sound and coming back as he should, then I feel like he should definitely be able to get the job done here over Barboza. I'm going to say Jalin Turner by KO or on points. But now we got Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. Marvin Vettori has never been finished in MMA, and Bruno Ferreira has never been to a decision, but I think that Bruno Ferreira is actually going to get his first decision win here over Marvin Vettori. Man, Marvin Vettori does have good cardio. He does have good output, but I just don't like Vettori's punching technique, man. I said it in this fight when I broke down his fight against Brendan Allen. He throws arm punches. Like, Vettori's built like he should have punch power. He's built like he should be knocking people out. But he pushes his punches, man. He pushes his punches. He throws like a boxing coach never actually taught him how to punch. Would Marvin Vettori beat the shit out of me? Yes. Am I right about the way he's throwing punches? Am I right about the way he throws punches being bad? Yes, I am. So I think Bruno Ferreira will land the bigger, harder shots and win a decision. And Marvin Vettori hasn't really won a fight, since the controversial win over Roman Dolidze, who a lot of people thought it was a robbery. And, the win over Paulo Costa at 205, which was another very close fight. Vettori's just too hittable, man. And yeah, Vettori's only really losing to the best guys, but he is getting fucked up by the best guys. Like, it's not really close. Like, Jared Cannonier put a fucking beating on him. Robert Whittaker whooped his ass. I don't know, man. Bruno Ferreira has really solid wins on his resume with Gregor Rodriguez, Dustin Stoltzfus, Armin Petrosian. So it's not like, Bruno Ferreira is just crushing cans. He's not just beating like the shitty bottom of the barrel fighters in the UFC. I mean, Jackson McVeigh, yes, like that's a terrible. That's not like a win where you're like, whoa, he beat Jackson McVeigh. It's like, no. But I think that he can land the bigger, better shots throughout the fight and get his first decision win of his career, like I said. If he doesn't finish Vettori, whose head is made out of fucking Italian steel. So I don't think so, but I do think that he's going to be able to hurt Marvin Vettori on occasion and win the rounds, at least 2 out of 3 rounds. And I don't see Vettori finishing him. Vettori's most likely path to get a finish would be in round 3 if Bruno Ferreira is super gassed out. But I'm going to go ahead and trust the cardio. Might be a mistake, but I'm going to go ahead and trust Bruno Ferreira's cardio to get the win here. But now we got Fares Ziam versus Nazim Sadykhov. The pick for me is going to be Nazim Sadykhov. Fares Ziam is well-rounded. He's got good long striking, solid grappling as well. He's good at striking off of clinch breaks. And, Ziam is able to take advantage of superior strikers on the ground, like he did with Jai Herbert. And let me see, who the fuck else did this guy fight? The thing is, my point, yeah, Michael Figlak, I think, as well. Mike Davis as well. But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like Nazim Sadykhov is better than all these guys that Ziam has beaten on his win streak so far. The Frivola fight was very competitive up until the knee. So was the Jai Herbert fight. But yeah, he's not going to have that luxury with Nazim Sadykhov to get takedowns. Nazim is a very good wrestler and grappler. I think that Nazim will be able to land the damaging shots on Ziam. I like his aggression in the striking as well. He should be able to keep himself on the feet, not get taken down. And if he does get taken down, he'll be able to get up. He doesn't settle or accept being in bottom position. Yeah, man. Nazim is solid, well-rounded skills. He's good at striking, good everywhere. I think that he can match Ziam everywhere here. Sadykhov has more power in his strikes than Ziam as well. Great striking defense, great vision, just good reflexes. He's always keeping his eye on the opponent. He's always covering up. He's not really getting himself hit clean. I don't like the Slavaklaw's draw, but I'm just going to chalk that up to, that was just Slava's best performance. And Nazim, he just let him in the fight. But it is what it is here. I think that I like, his striking defense. He's got good scrambles, takedown defense, and he isn't scared of a war. How does Ziam handle being in a grimy fight? That's what I want to see. So I feel like Sadykhov wins with his striking here, and that he's just better than all the other guys that Ziam has beaten so far on this win streak that he's on. Now we've got Maycee Barber versus Karine Silva. Fucking bathroom break, the smoke break. Go get your snacks. Run down to the store real quick. Get some more beers if you want. That's what this kind of fight is. But I'm picking Barber because I feel like she's more athletic. Karina got beaten up by Viviane Araujo. She's kind of not really, she doesn't have good cardio. So yeah, if Silva can keep it standing, if Silva can get the takedowns and defend Barber's pressure, I think that she's going to get outstruck, man. Barber's striking volume and aggression could overwhelm her. Barber's style tends to favor early rounds in the striking. Her damage and pace could be problematic for Silva, if Silva fails to drag it to the ground. But if Silva does get the fight to the mat, she does become dangerous with her BJJ background, the submission skills, the finishes with the submissions. If she's able to impose her ground game, control the fight's pace, and threaten submissions or ground and pound, it might be, rough for Maycee Barber. But I think Maycee Barber gets it done here. You are concerned about Maycee Barber's health, and her conditioning, given last year's hospitalization and the medical issues, with the seizure that she had to pull out of the Blanchfield fight for. Whether she's fully back in fight shape does matter a lot, but I am going to assume that she's back to being healthy. Barber doesn't seem like the type of girl that they're going to force to come back before she's ready. Barber was in a main event getting ready for Erin Blanchfield. So this is a girl, she's cute. She's a pretty girl. So this is a girl that they want to market. So they're putting her in a good spot to come back and get a win here over Karine Silva. I don't know, man. She just kind of seems like a bit of a dummy, just the fight IQ isn't great. And I just think that they want Maycee Barber to win this fight. So I feel like there's the matchmaking favors her as well. Now we got an absolute fucking banger. You better rush back after the fucking smoke break, after the bathroom break, after the drink run to get back and watch Terrance McKinney versus Chris Duncan. God damn, because this is going to be a fucking hell of a fight. Terrance McKinney fights like this dude is still tweaking in a fucking backyard. That if you don't know the story, this guy got arrested a couple years ago. He was tweaking on hella drugs, acid, shrooms, whatever the fuck, fought a bunch of cops in a backyard. He still fights that way. So it's just round one or bust for Terrance McKinney. I think that Chris Duncan can survive the early onslaught and get the finish in round 2 or 3. Duncan pulls this into deeper rounds. He survives that early chaos, uses takedowns or clinch attempts to stifle McKinney's offense. He's good enough on the feet to keep himself safe. Then he either wins a decision or secures a late finish. I don't see a decision here. I would definitely see Chris Duncan getting it done in round 2. Maybe even round 3 if McKinney tried to get his cardio better, if he's made some improvements. But I don't see McKinney coming in like a completely new fighter. He is who he is. I like Duncan's cardio, his technical approach to give him a safe path, especially if McKinney can't land clean early. I like Duncan here. McKinney's fucking dangerous in round 1. He could get that knockout in round 1, but I do favor Duncan. His more well-rounded skill set and ability to weather the early pressure gives him a path here to victory. But this fight, it's Chris Duncan's not a lock, man. McKinney's explosive finishing ability does make him a big fucking threat. A mistake or a lapse from Duncan could end things early. McKinney is dangerous, but I am going to pick the guy that's only been finished twice. to finish the guy that's been finished 7 times in McKinney. So, yeah, I like Chris Duncan here. I like his striking. I like his grappling. McKinney is very dangerous. He's dangerous for any 155er in the first round. But if they're able to get out of that first round, McKinney tends to fall apart. So I think I like Chris Duncan to make McKinney fall apart here. But now we got kind of lost my train of thought. Okay, not my train of thought, but my order here. Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. I'm picking Manuel Torres. This could be a fight where I get fucking pissed off watching Grant Dawson just hug Manuel Torres for 15 minutes, but I'm going to fucking pray to God that, the entertaining fighter wins. Grant Dawson's the dominant wrestler and grappler, high-level wrestling, takedowns, top control, submission threat, but he hasn't fought anyone recently or just ever, I think, with the physicality and danger factor of Manuel Torres. Dawson's on a 3-fight winning streak, returning from getting knocked out by a Bobby Green jab. So yeah, no, if Torres can keep this standing and land strikes early and clean, he has the power and finishing instincts to crack Dawson before he can even implement the grappling game plan. His striking aggression may pay off, especially in round 1 when Dawson might still be trying to gauge distance or set up his takedowns. If Dawson wins, he grinds this out. He weathers the early storm, secures takedowns, avoids shots, controls position, avoids actually fighting. He either finishes by submission or just lays and prays to a decision. Given experience, ground skills, and endurance, Grant Dawson might be the safer bet, I guess. But I don't know, man. I think that Torres is going to be able to catch him here. I think that he lands clean early, finishes Dawson before the grappling becomes a factor, or he's even able to get up, scramble on the ground. Torres is not a fish out of water when it comes to the grappling. He submitted Chris Duncan. He choked him out in round 1. So I think that, Manuel Torres is going to be good enough to get up from the ground or at least defend some takedowns and then just land on Dawson, who does not like getting hit, who does not have a good chin. And, Manuel Torres is a fucking freak of nature with the explosive power. So I like Torres here. And yeah, I got Torres by KO. Moving on, or maybe even inside the distance, because he could get a club and sub. He rocks Dawson. No, I don't think so. I don't think that he would worry about trying to cinch up a submission or anything on Grant Dawson. I think that he would just go for ground and pound. I'm not sure. But, Torres, he's an underdog, so I think that that's solid money line. You can just – this isn't fucking financial advice. I might bet on Torres. I'm not telling you to do it. If you lose your money on Torres and Grant Dawson just lays and prays his way to a win, it's not my fucking fault. Blame Grant Dawson, okay? But yeah, moving on, we got Jan Błachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. Man, this fight has been giving me fucking issues, bro. It really has. It's like part of me says Jan. Part of me also says, Jan is 40. Fuck. It's Jan Blachowicz' losses have aged like fucking fine wine. He went to decision with Ulberg. He went to decision with Ferreira. Never really took big shots against either guy. At 42 years old, questions remain about whether his output, his athleticism, I don't know about his durability, but just like his speed, is he going to be fast enough to, remain elite versus younger, harder hitting opponents like Bogdan Guskov? I don't know if Guskov gets the finish. He might get a decision win here. I don't think that, I keep saying Bogdan Grad because he fought at UFC Qatar, but Bogdan Guskov, he's never won a decision, only gets wins via finish, but it's just like the level of competition is nowhere near who Błachowicz has been fighting. Zach Poga, shit can. Ryan Spann, shit can. Billy Elikana, decent, but Nikita Krylov, he's been getting knocked the fuck out by everybody recently. So it's just like, dude, fuck. The fact that Guskov has never won a decision is concerning. But I think, he does have the skills to win a decision over Jan Błachowicz. He could win rounds 1 and 2, just have more output, be landing the better shots throughout the fight. This is a fight where it's just like, I don't even know who the fuck is going to win until I'm watching this live and I see how these guys look in front of each other. Fuck me, dude. Jan Błachowicz is 42, turning 43. God. The pick is going to be Guskov here, but it's like Jan Błachowicz is a fucking monster, bro. He's crafty. He's a crafty vet, man. People forget, man. Jan Błachowicz doesn't lose to anybody, and he doesn't make it easy. It's just like, fuck, dude. if Jan wins, I'm gonna feel like an idiot because it's just like, who the fuck has Guskov fought? Jan Błachowicz, fucking Ferreira, Magomed Ankalaev, Carlos Olberg, Alexander Rakic, Glover Teixeira, Israel Adesanya. Fucking dumb. Come on, man. Shit. The level of competition. Like, if Jan was like 5 years younger, bro, he would fucking shit in Guskov's mouth. That's the issue that I have with this fight. If Jan was in his prime, Guskov would be getting fucking finished inside the distance, and that's like, I would guarantee that shit. But it's like, this isn't prime Jan anymore, man. He's coming back from surgeries with the shoulder. I'm going to go ahead and pick Guskov. I don't like it. It's just, I just can't pick Jan in good consciousness and good faith when he's 42 turning 43. It's just rough. So yeah, as you guys can tell, I'm definitely struggling with this fight. This is probably the fight that I've had the hardest time picking on the entire card. So, take my Guskov pick with a grain of salt. This is a fucking tough one for both guys here. But yeah, moving on, I've got Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. I like Peyton Talbot to win this fight. I do like his footwork and length advantage in this fight. Triple C has good footwork, but, he's going to be having to close a lot of distance over Talbot. Talbot, yes, he did get out wrestled by Raoni Barcelos, but that loss has aged really well considering how good Raoni Barcelos has been looking in his recent fights, especially against Ricky Simón last time out. Talbot has shown noticeable improvements in his defensive and even offensive grappling and wrestling against Felipe Lima. Cejudo hasn't won since 2020, man. He's only fought the best guys in Aljo, Merab, and Song Yadong, but I just don't think that he's the same fighter that he was before. Cejudo doesn't seem to be all in on fighting. I think he's just lost his step a little bit. This is his last fight. He's going to retire, win or lose. Maybe if he wins, he gets a dominant win, he doesn't retire, but if he loses, he's retiring. So it's like, he has 1 foot out the door. I think, Gaten Talbussy is going to get the job done here. He most likely wins via decision, as Henry's never been stopped in the MMA outside of the TKO loss to Mighty Mouse. So yeah, I like Peyton Talbot here. He's been doing a lot of grappling with Frank Ocean. I think that he's going to be able to, defend the takedowns and just land the better shots on the feet against an aging Henry Cejudo. But now we got Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. I think Brandon Moreno is going to be able to defend the takedowns from Tatsuro Taira. Keep it on the feet in order to win the kickboxing battle. Moreno has really, really clean boxing, thrives in scrambles. Recently, he's put in camps for Pantoja, Amir Albazi, and a lot of that, is dependent on defending the takedowns and grappling. He looked great against Albazi. I do think Tatsuro Taira would beat Amir Albazi, but, Brandon Moreno knows what to expect in this fight. He knows how elite Taira's jiu-jitsu is. I just think the higher level experience for Moreno against people that want to take him down is going to benefit him here. Like I said, Tatsuro Taira is really high level jiu-jitsu, and he's not bad on the feet either. But, I feel like Moreno will keep this fight where he's strong and establish his boxing early on. And he's not going to really let Taira work where he's strong. He's going to avoid the jiu-jitsu, avoid the grappling, just keep this in the striking realm. He's a slight underdog. So shit, Brandon Moreno, dog money. I'm liking it. But yeah, I think Brandon Moreno is going to be able to land that crispy jab that he has, land those boxing combinations. And, it might be a competitive fight. Tatsuro Taira might have moments where he does establish ground control, but I don't think that it's going to be enough to get the win here over Moreno. If he does, I wouldn't be completely shocked. Excuse me. Tatsuro Taira is really fucking good, but I think that Moreno, he's only 31 years old, turning 32. It's not like this dude's washed by any means. I think he's still got it. I think that he's going to show that he's the right behind Pantoja is the best guy in this division. Yeah, man, I'm going with Brandon Moreno. Now we got Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Man, this is a fucking banger of a fight, man. Van has super clean striking, super clean counters, very crisp boxing. But I just think that a prime Pantoja will be too much for him right now. I just think that it's going to be too much too soon. Pantoja is, looking better than he's ever looked. He's looking better than ever. He's an absolute monster. I just don't see him losing here. Although I am rooting for Van. I'm rooting for Van. I just don't think Van's going to knock him out. Pantoja has a cinder block for a fucking head. And it's not like he's completely fucked on the feet. You know, it's not like a Grant Dawson situation where it's like he needs to get the takedown. I mean, he does need to get the takedown. Like if it's just a kickboxing boxing match, he is gonna, you know, lose. But he's gonna strike to get into range. He's gonna be able to land shots. He's gonna be able to take Joshua Van down and control him like he's been able to do with all these other high level fighters. Van might have good moments on the feet where, you know, he does kind of get out of range of Pantoja's wild shots and he just lands clean on him. But man, Pantoja, his fucking chin is just ridiculous, dude. Like, you know, maybe Joshua Van wins the rematch down the line in a couple of years when Pantoja is just a little bit more washed, not as primed. You know, Van is more so in his prime. You know, he's only 24 right now. Maybe he fucking rematches Pantoja at 27, 28 and whoops his ass. You know, I do definitely see Van as a top 5 flyweight. I do see him probably getting a win after this, getting himself back into title contention. But I think that Pantoja with his pressure will get the win here. I would love to see Van fight the perfect fight, be able to get up from the ground consistently, land super clean fucking counters, hurting Pantoja on multiple occasions. Like, yes, I would love to see it for sure. But I just don't think that it's going to happen, man. I'm just going to go with my brain, instead of my heart. I'm going to pick Alexandre Pantoja here. I think that he's going to establish the takedowns. I think that he's going to establish the ground control. I'm going to pick him by submission, but, you know, maybe it goes distance, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the submission. I just think that Pantoja just right now is just in prime form. He's just as good as he's ever going to be right now. And yeah, man, he's a hungry champion. He's a killer. Joshua Van, only 24 years old. He's going to come back. He's going to be champ one day, but I don't think that day is going to be December 6th on Saturday here coming up. So we'll see. I mean, I would love to be wrong. It'd be fucking sick to see Joshua Van win this fight, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. I'd love to see it happen. But I just don't see it. That's not going to be the pick. The pick is going to be Pantoja here. Now, Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan. You know, the Merab pick, it feels easy. It feels too easy, man. Everybody's counting Yan out, which is easy to do based on how their first fight went. You know, I am picking Merab here. Don't get it twisted. But, you know, there's just a little bit of a nagging worry. You know, it just feels like, you know, the party might get spoiled a little bit. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just crazy. It just feels like Jan might just land some shit. Might land that knee up the middle. Or he just might end up getting ran over like last time. You know what I mean? Like the first time. But, you know, since the first fight, Merab has been done nothing but get better. He's just looking better and better in these fights. He's getting finishes. He almost knocked out fucking Corey Sandhagen in the second round. He's just like, you know, Jan has stayed relatively the same. But Merab does have heightened confidence and, you know, willingness to strike more. But, you know, that willingness to strike might put him in danger in this fight. You know, he's going to give Jan more opportunities to land on him if he's striking more often. But I think that this fight should go relatively how it went the first time, with Merab's pace, pressure being too much, just like it is for everybody else. You know, Merab, this guy's a fucking monster, dude. Like, I've said it before, like, this guy has 4 lungs and 2 hearts. Like, this dude's cardio is fucking just unmatched. Like, a lot of people are like, this dude's on EPO, this dude's on PEDs, this can't be fucking real. I don't fucking know, man. Like, at this point, like, this dude is like a 1%er of a human being. Like, this kid just, or not this kid, but this, when he was a kid, this grown-ass man fucking grew up running around the mountains of Georgia, just fucking basically training at elevation his whole fucking life. Probably just running around, working construction, just like pushing himself all the time, physicality wise. Like, this dude is just like the definition of fucking built different. Like, you know, jumping headfirst into a fucking frozen lake, tying his t-shirt around his head and walking himself to the hospital. Like, Merab is a fucking monster. Petr Yan, he's got clean boxing. He's very well rounded. He's a great fighter. He probably might be champ if it wasn't for Merab in the division. But it's just like, dude, this fucking guy, I can't pick against him. Like, I can't. I just, until I see him lose, like, it's just, I'm just gonna be fucking picking this dude every time. He's an animal. He's a monster. I don't know, man. It's just like, how the fuck can you pick against Merab Dvalishvili? I don't know how you can do it, but I'm not gonna do it. So those are the picks from me, guys. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let me go ahead and get my camera out of the way here. Let me see, just so you guys can see these picks. Oops. There we go. I'm going to figure it out in a second. There we go. So, yeah. The pick, we got Merab by decision. We got Pantoja by submission round 3. Moreno decision. Talbot decision. Guskov decision. Torres KO round 1. Feels like a bit of a cope pick. It feels like a hope pick. But, you know, I'm just fucking praying to God Grant Dawson doesn't come in here and stink it up and fucking land top of him for 3 rounds. Then we got Duncan KO round 2, Maycee Barber decision, Nazim Sadykhov decision, Bruno Fajeda decision, Jalin Turner KO round 1, Iwo Baraniewski KO round 1, Mansur Abdul-Malik KO round 1. That's a lot of fucking round 1 KOs. You know, I'm being a little bit concerning, but it is what it is. These are just his apology picks. The real important part is like the actual fighter that I'm picking, and then we got Mairon Santos by decision. So yeah, guys, that was it for me. For get myself up here. It's been a little bit since I recorded a video, so your boy's a bit rusty. But that's gonna be it for me here. I do like the picks that I have on this card. I do maybe like a Brandon Moreno, Nazim Sadykhov parlay. You know, Chris Duncan. Fucking Iwo Baraniewski, I'm very confident in him. You know, I'm playing a Nazim Sadykhov Iwo Baraniewski parlay for plus 215. So that's something that I got cooking right now. You know, I'm gonna probably stream throughout this week. I'm gonna be doing a preview show, like a stream for it for UFC 323. But yeah, that should be it for me, guys. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Leave a like, subscribe. I should always say this shit at the beginning, but I never remember. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with your friends. But yeah, peace out, bros. I appreciate you for tuning in and for staying to the end if you did. Peace out.